Hi, my name is Mike Schramm, class of 2014, and I am a history and political science double major. I've been working with Dr. Wilson since the beginning of last spring, and I first wanted to do an independent study just about the era between the Civil War and World War I, and he said, well, why don't you focus on something a little bit more specific? And I read one book about the populist movement, and there's a bunch of farmers in the plains, so you think of people in Texas or Kansas in the 1890s as fairly conservative, but I found some really interesting stuff, and it sort of piqued my curiosity. There is a controversy of sorts within the historical community about populists, about whether they were really radical reformers or they were really reactionary and they wanted to go back to an early 19th century agrarian economy, and I wanted to try to shed some light on that. I found that I personally believe that the populists were pretty radical reformers. They were mostly poor farmers in the plains in the South, and they advocated for a lot of reform, like nationalization of the railroads and things like that, but they also fought for labor rights, so things like the 40-hour work week or safe working conditions that later became law either in the Progressive Era or under the New Deal. And that seems to be how reform movements work. People propose ideas that are radical at the time, but kind of like women's suffrage or civil rights, later generations see them as logical conclusions or almost take them for granted as just being part of everyday life. The most surprising thing for me in my research was uncovering just how much bias there is, but also me coming to the conclusion that that bias is not a bad thing. I like that the author of a book or the journalist who's writing in the newspaper really cares a lot about what they're writing or what they've been researching, because it shows a level of dedication. History is also people who did things and experienced things, and you can't recount that as just, oh, this person did this and this is the exact reason why and this is the only reason why. Well, Dr. Wilson has definitely been a sounding board for ideas for me. I can go to him and we'll have an hour-long conversation in his office, usually once or twice a week, and I'll say what I'm thinking about a certain subject, or I just finished a book and I have exciting new ideas, or I found a newspaper article that really hit home for me, and he will help me sort of formulate my own ideas. Well, for me, a liberal arts education is all about expanding what you're learning and opening new doors that you otherwise wouldn't have gone through.